Jericho. Now Balak, the son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab, that's his people, Balak is the king, Moab was exceedingly afraid of the people because they were many. And Moab was sick with dread because of the children of Israel. Here's one of the times where Israel is on a roll. They're enjoying victory in being children of God. So much to the point that the Moabites were sick with dread. They were exceedingly afraid. Verse 4, so Moab said to the elders of Midian, now this country will lick up everything around us, as an ox licks up the grass of the field. And Balak, the son of Zippor, was king of the Moabites at that time. Then he sent messengers to Balaam, the son of Beor, at Pethor, which is near the river in the land of the sons of his people, to call him, saying, look, a people has come to Egypt. See, they cover the face of the earth and are setting next to me. Therefore, please come at once. Curse this people for me, for they are too mighty for me. Perhaps I shall be able to defeat them and drive them out of the land. For I know that he whom you bless is blessed, and he whom you curse is cursed. Now, before we go any further, let's remember who we're talking about. We got the Israelites, and they're currently apparently pleasing God because God's giving them the victory. You've got the Moabites, a notorious bunch of Canaanites that are very, very evil in their worship to their false gods. The Moabites are very afraid, exceedingly afraid of the Israelites. So the king of the Moabites is worried about that. His name is Balak. By the way, Balak means destroyer, devastator. So the king sends for a prophet by the name of Balaam. And he has confidence in this prophet because he says, I know that whom you bless is blessed and whom you curse is cursed. Now, the story, if you read ahead, you'll know Balaam a little bit better. In chapter 24, which I think we'll get to it, in 24, it says, Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel. He did not go, as at other times, to seek to use sorcery or omens, but set his face toward the wilderness. So it was normal for Balaam to use sorcery or omens to do his prophetic work, so-called prophetic work. We don't know. We don't have any biblical record of Balaam before Numbers 22. We don't know how he behaved in his own land of Mesopotamia. He had a reputation to where the king of the Moabites, which is way south of where he's from. Balaam is from the northeast from there. He had a reputation to being effective as a so-called prophet. But I do not believe before this story was he blessed by the one true and living God with the office of being a prophet, nor do I believe afterward. And the reason why I don't believe that is because when it's all said and done, even with all that Balaam goes through, Balaam still goes back to his people. There's no indication that he would want to serve as an Israelite. There is no covenant that he makes with God, no circumcision, no promises. He just goes back to where he came from. That's how the story ends. So, Balak, the king of the Moabites, sends for this so-called prophet, and he has a lot of confidence in this guy. So he's got a reputation. All right, verse 7. So the elders of Moab And the elders of Midian departed with their diviner's fee in their hand. And they came to Balaam and spoke to him the words of Balak. Who says Balak? Who says Balak? I don't want to annoy everybody in this room. Is there a right way to say it?
I've always heard Balak.
Balak? Okay. All right, so verse 8. He said to them, lodge here tonight, and I will bring back word to you as the Lord speaks to me. So the princes of Moab stayed with Balaam. Then God came to Balaam and said, who are these men with you? Now, that's mystery number one. Why would God say that? Does God not know? That's not a big mystery, but it's a bit of a softball mystery, but I want to ask you anyway, just to see if you're paying attention.
To get him to acknowledge who's with him.
What was that?
To get him to acknowledge who is with him.
Oh, okay, that's right. So
That he asked Cain, where's your brother?
okay, yeah, okay. So get him to thinking about what's going on. So who are these people? Give these people a label. I know it says princes and elders and whatnot, but what are they to you?
Foreigners.
They're foreigners, okay, but so at this point, so are the Israelites, because they just moved in. That's good though. They're the bad guys in this show, right? They are not the people of God. Who are these people with you? They're not Israelites. So what does he want? Don't go and help them. That's where it starts. Right here in verse 9. Who are these men with you? And that should be enough for Balaam to say, uh-oh, yes.
God's asking that in a way to make Balak think. Who really are these people?
That's right.
Can they be trusted?
That's right. He's doing him a favor by making him think. That's right. God is very good at asking very good questions. Just like in Genesis chapter 3, Adam, where are you? God knows where Adam is. He wants Adam to think, wait a minute, why am I hiding? Oh yeah, I did something wrong. So who are these people with you? So Balaam said to God, Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent to me, saying, look, a people has come out of Egypt, and they cover the face of the earth. Come now, curse them for me. Perhaps I shall be able to overpower them and drive them out. And God said to Balaam, you shall not go with them. You shall not curse the people, for they are blessed. Don't curse my Israelites. They're blessed. Don't go with them. Okay. So Balaam rose in the morning and said to the princes of Balak, go back to your land, for the Lord has refused to give me permission to go with you. And the princes of Moab rose and went to Balak and said, Balaam refuses to come with us. Point for Balaam. Good job, buddy. Good move. Somehow, and by the way, throughout Scripture, we see God speaking to non-Israelite people. God spoke to Pharaoh Necho right before he has no choice but to kill Josiah. God spoke to, Abimelech, when he had accidentally taken Sarai. God spoke to a lot of characters, including, we're going to see a donkey, speaks right through a donkey. So it doesn't have to be an Israelite for them to know the real God is speaking. For whatever reason. I don't think that this is in any way a endorsement. That's the word I'm looking for. This is not an endorsement of Balaam. Or maybe it is. You make up your own mind. But I already told you, I don't believe he's someone who's committed to God. Nevertheless, he is confident that it's whoever he thinks the Lord is. The writer of Numbers, which is Moses, says, this is he says he's talking to Yahweh. Okay, all right. So let's see, where are we at? Verse 15. Balak again sent princes more numerous and more honorable than they. So Balak's not giving up. He's desperate. Balaam says no. Balak says, go ask him again. And this time I'm sending some celebrities. I'm sending some big shots. I'm sending some royalty to go and talk to this guy and convince him to come and help us. All right. And they came to Balaam and said to him, verse 16, thus says Balak the son of Zippor, please let nothing hinder you from coming to me, for I will certainly honor you greatly and will do whatever you say to me. Therefore, please come, curse this people for me. Then Balaam answered, to his credit, Balaam answered and said to the servants of Balak, though Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of the Lord my God to do less or more. There is a verse that you might use to argue, say, look, he's calling Yahweh his God. Okay. I don't think that that's good enough, but maybe it is. Maybe I'm missing something. However, I did want to point out, that's evidence to the contrary of what I think of Balaam. So far, though, he's doing a pretty good job. Even I got to give it to him. He's turned him down twice. And he says, it doesn't matter. I don't care if you give me a house full of gold and silver. I'm not going. Why does he say he's not going the second time? It's obvious answer. What?
He doesn't want to upset God.
Right. God says, don't go. So that's clear. It's clear, and then it gets clear as mud in just a moment. All right. Verse 19, now therefore, please, you also stay here tonight, that I may know what more the Lord will say to me. And God came to Balaam at night, and he said to him, if the men come to call you, rise and go with them. But only the word which I speak to you, that you shall do. Now this is interesting. This is mystery number 2. God says, if the men come to call you. Aren't they already there? And he tells them, stay here tonight. It's late. Go ahead and stay here tonight. Who knows? I'll talk to God. Maybe things will change by morning. Yet it says that God said, if the men come to call you. All right, verse 21. So Balaam rose in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the princes of Moab. Questions or comments? Yes?
I think he's jumping up and down for joy inside.
Okay. You think he's happy because he's thinking about the gold?
I can go.
Okay.
There's hope. Maybe I can get a house full of gold too.
Now, this is something I don't want you to miss. God says, if they call you. What's the very next thing it says? He got up and saddled up. They didn't say a word. There's no evidence they said a word. All we know is the sun came up and he couldn't wait to gallop. So maybe he was tempted overnight. However, I've seen worse people as we watch him in this story. I've seen worse people in the Bible. Balak is much worse. All right. So, he rose in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the princes of Moab. Then God's anger was aroused because he went. Some people will read this, and if you read it too fast, you're going to say, wait a minute, why is God mad? He said he could go. Did he? I don't think he did. I don't think he did. if you look at the Bible and understand a very important instruction to read the Bible is, do not add to it, do not subtract from it. So it looks like these men were or were not going to ask him again in the morning, and they never got the chance. He just gets up and he's ready to go. Now, you could also say God's anger is aroused because he went, and he only went because he really wanted to go in the first place. That okay, it doesn't say the men asked him in the morning, but they may have. But God's mad because how many times do I have to tell you don't go? That's up to you. The Bible does not tell us specifically why God is angered. It does say because he went. But what about when God says, if the men come to call you, rise and go with them? So that's a mystery we can't be sure of. Verse 22, then God's anger was aroused because he went, and the angel of the Lord took his stand in the way as an adversary against him. And he was riding on his donkey, and the two servants were with him. Now the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way with his drawn sword in his hand, and the donkey turned aside out of the way and went into the field. So Balaam struck the donkey to turn her back onto the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path between the vineyards, with a wall on this side and a wall on that side. And when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she pushed herself against the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, so he struck her again. Then the angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place where there was no way to turn either to the right hand or to the left. Now, they're on their way. God stops them with the angel of the Lord, right? Causes the donkey to turn, and he's beating the donkey, so the donkey is forced to try and, do a little Walter Payton move with the angel, just juke him. And he finds out no matter how many times he gets around the angel somehow, the angel's still able to block him. And now they're in a tight spot, and he can't juke him. Can't do it. Remember, God said if they call you, go with them, but do not curse. And then he went, God got angry. And then the angel of the Lord stops him. Okay. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she laid down under Balaam. So Balaam's anger was aroused, and he struck the donkey with his staff. Then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and she said to Balaam, what have I done to you, that you have struck me these 3 times? And Balaam said to the donkey, because you have abused me. I wish there were a sword in my hand, for now I would kill you. So the donkey said to Balaam, am I not your donkey on which you have ridden ever since I became yours to this day? Was I ever disposed to do this to you? And Balaam said, no. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way with his drawn sword in his hand, and he bowed his head and fell flat on his face. And the angel of the Lord said to him, why have you struck your donkey these 3 times? Behold, I have come out to stand against you because your way is perverse before me, or reckless. That's a clue. The angel of the Lord says that he is reckless there in the end of verse 32. Who's got other adjectives besides reckless? Raise your hand if your Bible says reckless. Just me?
Contrary.
Your way is contrary. Okay. Contrary, yes.
Perverse.
Perverse. Perverse. Mom, what do you got? I'm sorry, verse 32. I got your head spinning on this, I know. What do you got?
The angel of the Lord said to him, why have you struck your donkey through him? Behold, I have come out as an adversary.
Right. Because your way is contrary.
Okay.
And I think God tells us all through the Bible, the Old Testament especially, how much he really, when he tells you something, that's what he means. Don't bury on it.
Right.
He did it to Moses. He
there-
did it to a lot of people.
There's a couple people who have been able to negotiate with God. But you really have to have a real good relationship with God to negotiate with him. Apparently.
He's like a strict father.
So,
When I tell you to do something.
right,
do
right,
it.
right,
And
exactly.
don't add to it or take away.
And think about it really. God is God, right? So he's all-knowing. Not only can he calculate everything, he knows the future. So when he says, don't do it, you know he's right. You should know he's right the first time. If you're asking me, you know, you flip a coin, I might be right, I might be wrong. But God, when he said don't go with them, that's the best plan, which he did at first. He said, no, I'm not going. And then he said it again, but something made him do it anyway, and so he went. So the angel of the Lord is there, in the way. Now,
Doesn't it strike you odd? Donkey's talking to him, he goes, yeah, answer him right back like,
Yeah.
hello, you're talking to a donkey.
yeah. This is, to me, this tells us a lot about Balaam. Balaam is a spiritual guy.
He's a magician too.
I'm sorry?
Isn't he a magician?
Yes.
So maybe he doesn't think that's strange.
He's used to all kinds of potions. I tend to think he's always a little bit drunk or high or something. I really do. When I watch this guy in this book, I think this guy is never sober. I really think that he's half there the whole time. I think he's dabbling in sorcery and the occult, and it's got his mind mixed up. So when his donkey talks to him, it doesn't shock him at all. Because he's probably thinking, this has happened before. It hasn't. Do you have your hand up? No? Okay. So anyway, it doesn't shock him. That's the type of guy that this is. All right. The donkey saw me and turned aside from me, the angel says, and turned aside from me 3 times. If she had not turned aside from me, surely I would have killed you by now and let her live. All right. What I want you to see, and there's more. This is a weird story. Can we all agree this is a weird story?
Yes.
Who can tell me why it's weird?
It's about Jesus.
It's about Jesus. It's not about Balaam. It's not about Balak. It's not about a donkey. It's weird because it's pointing to the Christ. We're talking about foreshadows here. There's also prophecy in chapter 24. But this is foreshadow. Here we have a humble servant who saves Balaam's life. Talking about the donkey. Does he not? This is a shadow now. Shadows don't look a thing like what the thing is. Kind of, what is that? That's what shadows are. Foreshadows. Some of them are clearer than others. Like Isaac is a clearer shadow than this. But nevertheless, here we have a humble servant, always faithful, who protects Balaam and lays down to save his life. The donkey foreshadows the Christ. But that's not all. Wait, there's more. All right. So he says, if that donkey didn't do that, I would have killed you. Verse 34, Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I did not know you stood in the way against me. Now therefore, if it displeases you, I will turn back. And here we go. Go ahead, say it.
Did it displease you? I just tried to kill you. You don't think I'm aggravated with you? It doesn't displease me? Come on, man.
Right. But look at this. The angel said to him, after he says, I'll turn around. The angel says to Balaam, go with the men. But only the word that I speak to you, that you shall speak. Should I stay or should I go now? It was in the 80s. That was a song when I was growing up. What? All this back and, okay. All right. I guess I'll go then. I don't know why you stopped me. I was going. I'm sure he didn't have that attitude to that. Anyway, so he says,
It's in the details.
yes, like what?
It's in the details that God told him what to do specifically if the men come to you.
Yes, yes,
And they didn't.
yes.
Then it's
Yes.
in the details.
So the next step was kill Balaam. And he was as good as dead. But the donkey saved his life, according to the story. So now he's repented. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll go back. Now that's the right attitude. However,
It's not what God said to do.
for whatever, now God's got a different message to him. Go ahead and go. But make sure you watch your mouth. So Balaam went with the princes of Balak. Now, when Balak heard that Balaam was coming, he went out to meet him at the city of Moab, which is on the border of Arnon, the boundary of the territory. Then Balak said to Balaam, did I not earnestly send to you, calling for you? Why did you not come to me? Am I not able to honor you? And Balaam said to Balak, look, I have come to you. All right? Now, have I any power at all to say anything? The word that God puts in my mouth, that I must speak. Then Balak offered oxen and sheep, and he sent some to Balaam and to the princes who were with him. So it was the next day that Balak took Balaam and brought him up to the high places of Baal, that from there he might observe the extent of the people. Who sees it?
He went up.
What?
It was high up, lifted up.
First, to get Balaam to do what he should not do, he gives him something to eat.
From a sacrifice made to an idol.
That's true, but that's not the point. I'm talking about a foreshadow. He tempts him with food to do what he wants.
Oh, like the devil tempted Jesus.
That's exactly right. Then he takes him up on a high place. And he does it more than once, by the way, just like in Matthew 4. So in chapter 23, Balaam said to Balak, build 7 altars for me here. Who says that? Balaam, the guy who I'm not impressed with, even though he wants to say that God is his God. Okay. Build 7 altars for me here and prepare for me here 7 bulls and 7 rams. And Balak did as Balaam had spoken. And Balak and Balaam offered a bull and a ram on each altar. Where did they do that? Verse 41, where did they do it? The high places of Baal. So that's not good to God. I don't like this guy. All right. Verse 3, Balaam said to Balak, stand by your burnt offering. He says to the king, remember, Stand by your burnt offering, and I will go. Perhaps the Lord will come to meet me, and whatever he shows me, I will tell you. So he went to a desolate height. And God met Balaam, and he said to him, I have prepared the 7 altars. Balaam says to God, I have prepared the 7 altars, and I have offered on each altar a bull and a ram. Then the Lord put a word in Balaam's mouth, and he said, Return to Balak, and thus you shall speak. So Balaam returned to Balak, and there he was, standing by his burnt offering, he and all his princes of Moab. And he took up his oracle. Now this I'm visualizing, he had it written down. I don't know what take up his oracle. Maybe he had a book that he makes notes in. I don't know what that means. He took up his oracle and said, Balak, the king of Moab, has brought me from Aram, from the mountains of the east. Come, curse Jacob for me, and come, denounce Israel. How shall I curse whom God has not cursed? And how shall I denounce whom the Lord has not denounced? For from the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. There, a people dwelling alone, not reckoning itself among the nations. Who can count the dust of Jacob, or number 1/4 of Israel? Let me die the death of the righteous, and let my end be like his. Then Balak said to Balaam, What have you done to me? I took you to curse my enemies, and look, you have blessed them bountifully. So he answered and said, Must I not take heed to speak what the Lord has put in my mouth? All right. Now, depending on who you are, depending on how you read it, as you're visualizing this in your head, either God is speaking through him, like he spoke through the donkey. The donkey does not have the power of speech until God speaks through that donkey. So, one of two things is happening here. Either God is communicating to his heart what to say, and he's saying it, or God's speaking through him like he spoke through the donkey. Either way, Balaam is saying, Look, king, I can't, what do you want me to do? God's speaking through my mouth. By the way, I picked this lesson because as soon as Kevin, Lord willing, gets through all of the big picture, I'm going to do a lesson on the 12, the book of the 12, the ones we call the minor prophets. So this is a master class in what prophets do. Okay. All right. So he said, look, all I'm doing is what I have to do. So King Balak said to him, Please come with me to another place from which you may see them. You shall see only the outer part of them, and you shall not see them all. Curse them for me there. So he brought him to the field of Zophim, to the top of Pisgah. By the way, Pisgah is a mountain. Took him up high. And built 7 altars, and offered a bull and a ram on each altar. And he said to Balak, Stand here by your burnt offering, and I will meet the Lord over there. Then the Lord met Balaam, put a word in his mouth, and said, Go back to Balak, and thus you shall speak. So he came to him, and there he was, standing by his burnt offering, and the princes of Moab were with him. And Balak said to him, What has the Lord spoken? Then he took up his oracle, there it is again, and said, Rise up, Balak, and hear. Listen to me, son of Zippor. God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should repent. He has said, and will he not do? Or has he spoken and will not make it good? Behold, I have received a command to bless. He has blessed, and I cannot reverse it. He has not observed iniquity in Jacob, nor has he seen wickedness in Israel. The Lord his God is with him, and the shout of a king is among them. God brings them out of Egypt, and he has strength. Israel has strength like a wild ox. For there is no sorcery against Jacob, nor any divination against Israel. It must now be said of Jacob and of Israel, oh, what God has done. Look, a people rises like a lioness and lifts itself up like a lion. It shall not lie down until it devours the prey and drinks the blood of the slain. Then Balak said to Balaam, neither curse them at all, nor bless them then at all. So Balaam answered and said to Balak, did I not tell you, saying, all that the Lord speaks, that I must do? Then Balak said to Balaam, please come, and I will take you to another place. Perhaps it will please God that you will curse them for me there. So Balak took Balaam to the top of Mount Peor that overlooks the wasteland. Then Balaam said to Balak, build for me here 7 altars, and prepare for me 7 bulls and 7 rams. And Balak did as Balaam had said, and offered a bull and a ram on every altar. Chapter 24. When Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he did not go, as at other times, to seek to use sorcery, but he set his face toward the wilderness. And Balaam raised his eyes and saw Israel encamped according to their tribes, and the Spirit of God came upon him. Then he took up his oracle and said, and he gives this big blessing, huge blessing, which I don't want to run out of time. I want you to see verse 17. Notice verse 17. It says, I see him, but now I behold him, but not near. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come forth out of Jacob. Where does Balaam come from? What direction?
East.
He's from the east. Exactly. In Matthew chapter 2, there's a peculiar bunch coming from where?
The east.
The east. And they're following what? A star. That's right. So, this again points to the Christ. A messenger from the east knows about a star that's going to come out of Jacob, out of Israel. That star is Jesus, but that's what that means. But we find out in Matthew 2 that that's in a prophecy because it has 2 meanings. They're going to follow a real star or some kind of a thing that looks like a star to get to the star in Matthew 2. That's the wise men that came from the east. So, here we see this weird story, and it's weird because it foreshadows the Christ and comes right out and prophesies about the Christ. When it says here in verse 17, a star shall come out of Jacob, a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and batter the brow of Moab and destroy all the sons of tumult. And Edom shall be a possession. Seir also, his enemy, shall be a possession, while Israel does valiantly. Out of Jacob one shall have dominion, and destroy the remains of the city. Questions or comments? Yes, sir.
I may be wrong with this, but I've heard that many times in the Old Testament when it says the angel of the Lord, that's Jesus. In verse 32, and the angel of the Lord said, find the instructions on these 3 times, the angel of the Lord speaking. But if it is Jesus, you've got God the Father, God Jesus, and God the Spirit.
Yes.
And verse 32 says, behold, I've come out as an adversary, because your way was contrary to me.
Yes.
It didn't say, God said it's
Right.
contrary to me.
Right.
So I think that may be Jesus that was actually blocking the way, the angel of the Lord.
I agree with that, except for I would concede to people who are nervous about that statement. In that, what I mean is the angel, A messenger can do it two ways. A messenger can say, he said for me to tell you thus and so. Or, as we see many times like this, the word will just come forth from that, in this case, an angel, avatar, whatever. But it's Yahweh speaking through the angel. Because he says, me. So, yes, I believe it is Yahweh, and I do believe it's clear from Philippians chapter 2 and other places that Jesus is Yahweh in the Old Testament. So, I don't think he's literally or even needs to literally be the angel of the Lord. But the angel of the Lord certainly is a, you know, like a stereo speaker. It's not moving its lips, but that sound's coming out of it, right? I think that angel sometimes will be like that. Another time is Exodus 3. In one verse will say the angel of the Lord was in that bush, and then it will say Yahweh was in that bush. So, yes, I agree with that, and if anybody has a problem with that statement, I agree that Jesus was speaking through that angel. So either way, yes, I think it's Jesus speaking. The Word, yes.
My Bible says, when you were, what was the word you were saying?
When?
When he took up his, mine says discourse, would you call it? Oracle.
The oracle. Oh, yours says discourse.
Mine says discourse, and then it says down here, that means parable. So that would be like Jesus in a parable.
Speaking of parable.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. That's interesting. He took up, or he began to say his parable. Is that what oracle might mean?
Yeah.
Does everybody else have discourse or oracle? Discourse?
Discourse with the footnote here.
Oracle? Yeah. I'm not sure exactly. And it's just, I think it's interesting. I don't know if that matters, but yeah, it's interesting that it could simply mean parable.
Mine says discourse too.
Discourse? Okay. All right. Anybody else before we close the lesson? All right. So when you read this story in Numbers 22, you say, this is weird. This makes no sense. I don't know if the Bible is complete here. Don't do that. Read 22, then read 23, then read 24, and you're going to see Jesus. You're going to see the foreshadowing is hitting you over the head. But if you only read 22, you're missing it. Here again, we live by, somebody say it.
Every word.
Every word. You're going to let her do all the shouting? We live by every word. All right. Anyway, that's the lesson. Make sure that you read. If anybody's got a Bible question about this story, did you read the whole story? John?
Compare this to Jonah. Here, he wants to go.
Yeah.
God says no.
Right.
Jonah don't want to go. God says yes, go.
Right. Right.
Just the opposite.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. God is going to win regardless. And be careful what you wish for. All right. Excellent, guys. Appreciate you playing along with me and helping me out on that. I thought it was a very helpful refresher for myself. Okay, so I'm guessing Kevin was going to do the song, so I'll go ahead and do that too. Is that okay? If I do the invitation and the song?
Sure. Yeah. You're up there.
I mean, I'm already up here.
You want to make the announcements?
No, we don't want you to. Get down.
I don't want to do that.
What are we gonna say?
Well, you're already up there.
I'll be wore out by then. All right, so just a couple more words and we'll go home. Let me turn off the subtitles. Somebody doesn't like that.
Yeah, somebody don't.
All right, Exodus chapter 16. This is what this is what the Lord has commanded. Gather it, that's the manna. This is from wherever they get the manna in the wilderness. Gather it, each one of you, as much as he can eat. You shall each take an omer, according to the number of the persons that each of you has in his tent. And the people of Israel did so. They gathered some more, some less. That's depending on how many people they had. Verse 18. But when they measured it with an omer, whomever gathered much had nothing left over, and whoever gathered little had no lack. Each of them gathered as much as he could eat. And Moses said to them, let no one leave any of it over till the morning. But they did not listen to Moses. Some left part of it till morning, and it bred worms and stank. And Moses was angry with them. We've heard that before. Well, I picked this story because this day in history, October 8th, 1872, there was a woman born by the name of Mary Ingle Pennington. She's a big deal. She was an American engineer and bacteriologist. I said that right. I didn't think I would. So, she was a pioneer of the safe handling of perishable food. Because of God working through her, those are my words, not hers, but I'm going to give God the glory for this. Because of that, we have refrigeration in grocery stores, and we have refrigeration in the trucks that deliver perishable foods. In fact, God worked through her to safely get perishable food to the troops of World War I. So she was a big-time pioneer, scientist, engineer, that she was part of the team. Nobody knows, it happened so quickly that it's not documented, but she very well could be the one, because there's not many of them. Louis Pasteur, maybe one other guy, but I think it's her. I'm just going to say it was her. She found out that 40 degrees is the cutoff. We have a refrigerator. We have a freezer. She did, with her experiments, figured out how to safely handle food and then store it in refrigeration. And she found out that above 40 degrees, bacteria grows faster. It's the I'm not going to say that word. It's the important number, 40. So obviously 32 degrees things freeze, but if you don't want it frozen and you don't want it to spoil, you want to be 40 degrees or colder. She's the one that did that. Now, God could have used anybody to do that. So I give glory to God. However, it's nice to know in our history that somebody was smart enough to read boring books, to do an experiment, and another experiment, and another experiment, to finally figure out what works and what doesn't work. I don't have the patience to do that, but she did. So, that she was born on October 8th, and today is October 8th, so I thought I would let you know that. But at the same time, as much as I thank God for Mary Pennington, I thank God for something far more important. John chapter 6, verse 25. When they had found Jesus on the other side of the sea, they said to him, Rabbi, when did you come here? Jesus answered them and said, Most assuredly I say to you, you seek me, not because you saw the signs, but because you ate of the loaves and were filled. Do not labor for the food which perishes, but for the food which endures to everlasting life, which the Son of Man will give you, because God, the Father, has set his seal on him. He tells us to not labor for food which perishes. He tells that guy, not necessarily telling us not to go farm and sell our food at the market, buy food at the market, cook it. He's not saying that. He's saying this is all this guy cares about. All he wants Jesus for is for perishable food. That's all he wants out of Jesus. He doesn't want anything else. And Jesus is saying, no, I'm not going to give you any more of that free earthly bread. I want you to have everlasting life bread. I don't want you to have food which perishes. I don't want you to think that's what I'm all about. That's not what I'm all about. I did that for a sign, not to feed you. I did that so you would know who I am. I want you, from now on, he's saying to that person, I'm paraphrasing, I want you to focus on the food which endures to everlasting life, not on food that perishes. And so, when we think about life, when we think about hard times, when we think about empty shelves at the grocery store, I hope that everybody in here always has peace and joy, regardless, because you have that food which is toward eternal life.